Good evening, everybody. My name is Sharon O'Dowd. I'm the RN educator for Juanio, and tonight we are here to talk about autism and nutrition. So with that, I'd like to just welcome everyone. So we're going to start off just by addressing the fact that oftentimes people with autism have repeat behaviors and oftentimes restricted or narrow interests. So these types of behaviors can often affect their eating habits and food choices, and that can lead to a lot of different health concerns. Limited food selections or strong food dislikes and likes as well can have a big impact on a person. Someone with autism may have sensitivities to smell. It could be the texture, it could be the color, and that may lead to some issues that would limit their food preferences and their ability to get enough nutrition. Oftentimes we have people with autism and they don't have good eating habits, and that leads to a whole host of different problems. So when we talk about food, we talk about how it can impact our health, but it also can impact our behaviors and our mood. A lot of times people don't realize things that they are eating are really impacting us in a negative way. Like caffeine, for example, is oftentimes responsible for making a person irritable or anxious. Having too much concentrated sweets can increase our mood swings. You get that roller coaster effect that sometimes you'll feel really good after you have that carbohydrate, but not too long after that you get that crash. So it can really play havoc with a person's mood. When you think about things that are on the healthier side, things like nuts and seeds, beans, eggs, protein-based products, and oftentimes the ones that have a more protein base, I guess is a good way to put it. So the meats, the poultries, the fish, the seafood, oftentimes will give a person a more stable mood because it holds their blood sugar levels stable for a longer period of time, letting them feel like they can concentrate for a longer period of time and feel more alert, and oftentimes be more active as well. Sometimes we see autism having challenges when it comes to healthy eating because the pickiness gets in the way. So sometimes with all of those sensitivities that we mentioned to tastes and even smells and colors and textures, it can really be a barrier to a nutritious, balanced eating plan. Oftentimes, especially kids have an aversion to certain textures, certain tastes, smells, and they require a lot of repeat introductions to foods. And if you just try keeping it coming and keeping it going around, I guess is a good way to put it, you might find that they're more willing to try things. They may need to see it, to touch it, to smell it. Try to have fun with it if you can, if that makes any sense. It sounds kind of funny when I say play with your food, because we always think, don't play with your food. But playing with your food can sometimes be really helpful. Try being creative with your foods. Try painting with sauce, or creating meals that are appetizing in a way that they are fun. You make faces and decorate your sandwiches using vegetables, using cooking cutters to cut out different shapes. Try being as creative as you can, making things like ants on a log, which is really just celery with peanut butter or almond butter, which is actually a really good choice, and then putting some raisins on it, and those are the ants. So again, use your use your creativity and let your kids try and incorporate their creativities and helping to prepare meals, and then show that you really enjoy food. When you're tasting, try to really savor every moment of eating, and showing the person that you're with that eating is a really pleasurable thing. So if you're enjoying it, chances are they will try it and they may enjoy it too. For picky eaters, you need to try to keep meal times scheduled, keep things on a routine so that meal times are set and you try to stick to those meal times as much as possible. That helps to motivate that person because they know when meals are coming, they know when snacks are coming, and then they also have time to build up an appetite. So you're not trying to chase your tail, so to speak, that you've had breakfast and now it's time for a snack. And if that snack falls too close to lunch, they're not going to want to eat their lunch. So trying to space things out in an even time can be very helpful because, again, that will help them build their appetite over time. And it will keep that routine, which is oftentimes a very important piece when you talk about a person who has autism. Also, eliminating distractions during meal times. I try to always encourage meal times to be simple, keep it short and sweet, not a lot of commotion going on. Try to avoid TV, use of tablets or phones or other toys at the table. Of course, you always have to know the person that you're with. Sometimes small things can be a help, but really try to keep meal times simple, quiet, with not a lot of commotion going on. And then often come up with some ways to maybe camouflage certain things. Sometimes the aversion to textures or smells or flavors, even, if you try to embed those into other products, sometimes that can be very helpful. So blending or chopping foods can fix issues with textures, and try to incorporate things into casseroles may be a help if you're able to camouflage things. Some individuals will find it important that you need to continue to reintroduce foods, offer new foods slowly, maybe blend it with or introduce it along with, not even so much blend it, but provide it in a timely fashion so that it's a little bit at a time, small changes, maybe introducing it along with a food that they really do like and enjoy. And again, you may have to introduce that food several times. It might be easier to allow the person to enjoy that food by just looking at it the first time it's introduced. They may not even want it near them, but if it's on the table and they see it and they're used to seeing it and it's a repeat customer on that table, after a while they may engage and try to taste. Give them the control. So encourage them to have the choice and some control in what they're eating and what goes on their plate. They're more likely to consume foods as opposed to being forced to eat something if they have a say in what they can have on their plate. Set them up for success as much as you possibly can. So think about planning a healthy diet in a number of small, manageable steps. No one likes change. Change is kind of hard. So if you try to introduce things little bits at a time, your child might be more receptive. Try bringing your child, if they're willing, to the supermarket with you and letting them choose a new food. Have them pick anything they want and, bring it home. Doesn't guarantee they're going to try it, but give them that autonomy to at least have that choice to try that new food. Allow them to choose their favorite foods to include at every meal. So along with some things that they might not be happy with 100%, If you allow them one choice, even if it's a condiment, it's okay. You've kind of set the tone, giving them that choice. Make meals, like I said, predictable, quiet, and routine, as routine as you possibly can. Following a healthy pattern across the lifespan is really important. So what we do in childhood, we want to set them up to have healthy behaviors throughout their lifespan, and that will serve them very well. You just need to remember that all food and beverage choices have a significant meaning. So if you're more likely to have them exposed to healthy foods and beverages, they're more likely to want to eat and drink those healthy foods and beverages on a regular basis. That can just help reduce chronic diseases and a lot of the risks that are associated with that. You want to think about things like limiting calories from added sugars, saturated fats, and reducing sodium intake. So consuming an eating pattern that limits those things is really to your benefit. Cut back on foods and beverages that are high in sodium, high in added sugars, and stick to healthy fats. So with that, when we talk about healthier beverages, choose nutrient-dense foods. And what I mean by nutrient-dense foods is thinking about all of the food groups and finding their place amongst some of the more unhealthy choices that are out there. Always take into consideration the person's preferences as well. So personal preferences do play a big role. The other thing you want to think about is when you are purchasing things, or even in a restaurant and you're asking to order your meal, you can ask, how is this prepared? Having them tell you what way they're going to cook your vegetables can sometimes make a difference. They don't need to be cooked in a ton of high-fat, creamy sauces and things like that. When you're shopping, look for things that are low in sodium. Choosing things wisely instead of maybe the frosted mini wheats, choose the plain mini wheats, and you then have the control to add sugar when you want the sugar, and how much sugar or what type of sugar you're going to add. Maybe you're going to sweeten it with honey or something else. So reading labels and looking to see what is in the products that you're buying. Pay attention to the sodium content, pay attention to how much added sugars are in this product, and choose wisely. Here we have a screen that shows the masquerade, and people oftentimes laugh at me when I show this slide because it really is a masquerade when you think about it. So you really need to be wary of foods that are oftentimes marketed by these big food companies as healthy, because they sometimes are really not so healthy. You might be really surprised to find the amount of sugar that is in some of these products. Here you'll see we have an example of Fiber One. Who doesn't think that that would be a great cereal choice, right? Like, ooh, there's tons of fiber in it. Fiber's really good for you. Ooh, it's got 10 grams of protein. But when you look at the label, you're going to find that it also has 16 grams of sugar per serving. People think, oh, Greek yogurt, wow, that's really good for you, high in protein. Well, Greek yogurt really is good for you, but you have to read the label. This particular product has 18 grams of sugar in that one container. So when you look at all of these products, if you had a bowl of Fiber One for breakfast and you had the Greek yogurt for lunch, and then midday you chose that Nature Valley granola bar, you come up with about 26 grams of sugar, which is way over the limit of 42 grams per day. So again, choosing wisely and reading labels. Differentiate between healthy fats and unhealthy fats. So choosing the right type of dietary fats to eat is really an important factor, especially in reducing obesity and other chronic health problems, diabetes, heart disease, cancer. Really, we need to get a grip on all of these, but not eliminating fats. So that's one thing, that we can't eliminate fat from our diet. Fat's really important. It's a staple in brain function. So we just need to choose the right fats. We need to have enough omega-3 fatty acids. We need to get these from our diet. So choosing healthy fats is really important. We want to stick to the polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats, and we want to try to limit the amount of saturated or bad fats that we have. Trans fats have been pretty much outsourced now. They don't really put trans fats, thanks to the Food and Drug Administration. They've kind of banned trans fats, which is really a good thing. Eating healthy fats is really important for that brain function, and you can find omega-3 and 6 fatty acids in all sorts of things like flaxseed, walnuts, edamame, kidney beans, seafood like salmon and mackerel, and then also in eggs. So again, choosing your foods can be very helpful, especially when you're paying attention to the healthy fats. We also want to mention constipation, because a lot of times people that are not eating well may have issues with constipation. It might be because of their limited food choices. It could be low physical activity. It could be medication related. So typically, if you are increasing a person's dietary fiber, which can be done with a variety of products like beans and whole grains, that can help. Plenty of fruits and vegetables, and then remembering to drink plenty of water throughout the day. And it doesn't have to be just water. You could actually slice oranges and throw those in the water, or lemons, to give it a little pizzazz, make it look nice, make it have a little bit of a flavor. And then remember that oftentimes medications can cause a lot of trouble. For as good as they can be, they can also bring about some problems, especially stimulant type medications can lower a person's appetite. So if you're using a stimulant medication, it's really important that you encourage a healthy, good breakfast before that medication is given in the morning, and then making sure that that person has healthy snacks throughout the day, because they may not come to eat a full lunch because their appetite is just not there. So having healthy snacks around is a good idea. And then always remember to ask your pharmacist when you're picking up your medication if there's anything specific that you need to avoid with certain medications. There are some things that can interfere with how that medication is metabolized, and one prime example is grapefruit. So it interferes with the way our liver metabolizes medications. So always ask to be sure that there are no contraindications with any citrus or grapefruit. You want to stay away from processed foods or fast foods. Here, I just thought this cartoon was hysterical. You got to start eating out of a different parking lot. So here you see this one pigeon, and he's kind of plump. So stay away from processed foods and fast foods as much as you can. I know sometimes it's easy, it's accessible, it's intriguing, especially for younger kids. They want the fast food, but try to use that as a once in a while occasion. You're going for McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or whatever it is. I'm not saying you can't eat it ever, but don't make it the usual. Make it the rarity that it's, this is something, we're going to go out, we're going to grab McDonald's. Shouldn't be the everyday thing. Try not to use food as a reward also. Making it a reward just kind of sets them up for disaster as time goes on. Offering to eat out occasionally would be a nice thing. Try to choose a regular restaurant where you have a little more control over what's being served and how it's prepared, so that you can actually make educated, good choices off the menu. So my final words are basically, if you don't recognize an ingredient, your body's not going to recognize it either. So Again, I want to just say, eat less crap, which would be less carbonated drinks, less refined sugars, less artificial sweeteners and colors, less processed foods, and eat more food, which is fresh fruits and vegetables, organic lean proteins, omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, and don't forget to drink plenty of water. So that's all I have for you guys for tonight. I hope this presentation was helpful. Matt, are there any questions from anybody? If anyone has anything, you can type it in the chat and I can always answer. Okay. So next is Tobi, and he will be presenting for you. He's going to talk about activities and routines. So thanks, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tobi. I'm a behavior specialist here at Joanyo, and I would like to talk to you about activities, routines, and how it affects individuals on the spectrum. So many individuals with autism rely on activities and routines in order to keep their environment stable and predictable. The introduction of activities and routines help individuals who may have variance in behavior stay active and busy. The applied activities and routines also help to reduce the likelihood of negative behaviors. And what I'm going to discuss in totality in this presentation involve implementing and showing you the importance of activities and routines, how to create and implement daily activities, and then how to develop rules and routines. Generally, children with autism have rigid patterns of thinking. They tend to like structure and repeated activities that at times can be seen as ritualistic. If broken, it can immediately affect adaptive functioning and include daily living skills, communication, and social interaction. So kids that usually are on the spectrum, especially ones that have a routine implemented. So just break this down a little bit further. If something does happen, whether they're missing their favorite jacket, or they don't get their favorite meal, or someone that they see on a usual basis in the morning doesn't maybe come to pick them up, that throws their whole world for a tizzy. So it's just good to be aware that maintaining a routine and maintaining the objects that are within the routine as much as possible is very important. Children may insist upon the same routine or environment in order to cope and feel safe, and if disrupted, can also lead to the emotional meltdown, as I mentioned. This could be caused by unexpected changes to tangible objects, places, or people. A great example is a kid comes back from school Monday through Thursday and receives a yogurt before they go into any other activity that they have for that evening. Monday through Thursday they receive that yogurt, but by Friday the mom maybe had forgotten to go grocery shopping and that yogurt isn't there. So the child is searching, maybe starts off with patience, but then is continually asking, and the mom can't simply just run out and go and get that yogurt. That, as I mentioned before, that in itself throws a child for a tizzy. That she doesn't know what to do, because that yogurt was connected to what she probably would do next. Maybe go and do puzzles, or go and paint a picture, or go and simply just watch TV. But before she can do that, she had to have her yogurt. And because that yogurt wasn't supplied, or that yogurt wasn't there, that not only changed her own emotional feeling, but also changed her environment. It didn't allow her to proceed with the rest or the remainder of her day. So just that small object easily changed the whole perspective of the remainder of that evening for her. So as a result, she rolls around the kitchen, kicking and screaming because she's accustomed to receiving the yogurt before engaging in her next scheduled activity. When creating activities, center them around things that your child loves to engage in. You can do this by simply just observing. In my line of work, a lot in terms of when I deal with new individuals or new children that we get at the agency, my first job, and what I want to do as a behavior specialist is to observe them in their natural environment, see the things that they like to do, see the things that they love to engage in, whether it be objects, whether it be people, whether it be seasonal things. Those are all the questions that I ask before we take them into the agency. And as parents or as teachers, that would be the same thing that I would employ you guys to do, is gather as much information on the child. No, there's no such thing as a bad question. I know that's a cliche, but that truly is. Every little every little question, every little detail does matter when dealing with children on the spectrum. It can go long ways as to helping them work with them, especially it can help prevent behaviors from occurring. It can help deal with behaviors when they do occur. So ask as many questions as possible and observe as well. Once you create an activity and the child has become accustomed to the activity and routine, the time of day is played, amount is time is given, etc. So what I meant by that is basically when you're engaging in the activity, as simply as the amount of time that you gave to the activity is crucial, whether you gave anywhere to 10 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe 30 seconds if it's a little break in between the activity or doing something else, or if there's homework, you may want to you want to keep to that. You don't want to one day do an activity for 30 minutes and then not the next day do the activity for 10 minutes. You want to be consistent. It also just keeps consistency with the child, so the child knows what they're expecting and how much child they're allowed to do whatever activity they want to do. But also it like I said, creates a safe space of and takes away unpredictability from them. And like I said, the main thing and the important thing is having them know exactly what's going on at all times. So like I said, the amount of time and the place is very crucial. Also, once you have the activity, it's also good to expand. So I gave an example of taking a child for a walk outside. They like to go for walks. They like to be out in their environment, in the community. But then to allow them to grow and mature and to see what else they like, you may want to, on the next outing, you may want to bring a basketball or soccer to see whether or not being in the environment in which they like, which is going out for walks, whether or not they would like to do any other activities while they're out. So you may go to a park and engage in certain activities and seeing what they would like to do. Sometimes they may not want to do either. Sometimes they'll like to do anything just because it's simply out in the community and outside. So it's basically just characterizing, just expanding the palette for them in terms of what they are able to do. But you do want to start off small and kind of gradually encourage them to do more. So this is more going into steps to help develop rules and routines, and I kind of did like a pie chart to kind of explain a lot of what's going on. So let me just. So first, you want to recognize that your child needs structure. That's the most important thing. You don't want to just implement something forcefully. You want to make sure that the child would definitely benefit from having a structured routine in their lives. So the first thing you would do is observe and see if maybe during different aspects of the day, that doing stuff with structure included would benefit them the most. And then second, developed rules or desired behavior. Teachers develop rules in the classroom. Parents develop rules of the household. So, in terms of developing rules and routines, you want to kind of give that space in terms of what's allowed, what's not allowed. I know just parents I know have this in their household, and obviously, like I said, teachers, but you just want to show them what's appropriate in appropriate places, what you expect from them when they go to certain places. So if you're going out in the community, simply just going grocery shopping, you want to display and explain what the rules of each area is, what's acceptable and not acceptable. And the best way to do that is basically by having the child understand exactly what you expect from them. So you want to go into detail about when you're in certain environments, what exactly you're expecting of them. And the best way to do that is not only just by talking with them, but also you can use role playing, before actually going into those environments. You can role play with them at home. You can use social diagrams and social cards to display what a behavior looks like in certain areas, in certain environments. And these will all help to kind of set the tone before the child ventures out into the community, in the different aspects of community, different environments, and kind of prepare them for what you're expecting from them and how they should, how the behavior should look like in these certain environments. And then finally, too, step 5 is just basically just keeping a tab on how they're doing. Kind of having a journal, taking notes on terms of what worked and what didn't work. You may want to scale back on certain things that they may be having a hard time dealing with, they may not be accepting, but also just kind of jot down exactly what worked and what worked in certain situations. So it's definitely good to have detailed notes, especially if you have somebody else that at times may work with your child. It's good to have something to hand off to a babysitter or a family relative or close family friend, just so if they're doing you a favor by like looking over, watching your child while you're away, they know exactly what works and doesn't work. But also, if you have a routine and a schedule, it also makes their life a lot easier in terms of not breaking that routine, because obviously there's a lot that can go wrong and negatively with the behavior. But it also just continues the process of allowing your child to grow and mature. So that's basically it for my presentation. If you have any questions, this is my contact information too. You can contact me. But yeah, I open the floor to comments.